So welcome one and all to the first public event of the pandemic era. It's so refreshing to see people also here, and albeit this is in a phygital mode, a new word for the day today that we learned. So we have people both on the webinar session as well as we have people over here at Courtyard Marriott Chennai. So good morning. And our speaker for the day, Mr. Jay Krishna, is the president and group HR and corporate communications of the Amar Raja Group. He's an executive member of the Amar Raja Corporate Council, the chairman of the Group Ethics Committee, and the ombudsman of the Amar Raja Group. A graduate in economics, a first rank holder in post-graduation in social work with specialization in personal management from the Madras School of Social Work. Somebody from our own city. So he's also certified in family business advising from the Family Firm Institute in Boston, USA. He started his career in 1990 as a management trainee in the Murugappa Group. After 14 years in the group, he moved on to CK Birla Group as their general manager of group corporate HR. In December 2005, he joined the Amar Raja Group as Group HR head. Over his career in Amar Raja, other than HR, he's also handled responsibilities in IT, CSR, skill development, and new business development. A very versatile person with varied interests. JK is not, he's fondly called as JK, by the way, and he's the chairman of, he was a chairman of EFSI for AP&TEL, a member of the Andhra Pradesh Government Labor Advisory Board, and has held various committee chairs in CII. Now, he is the member of the CII National Panel on Leadership and HR. A recipient of awards like Pride of the Industry Award, HR Leadership Award, CHRO Asia, 100 Most Talented Global HR Leaders, Most Influential HR Leaders by CHRO. Sir, is there anything you still need to get? A fond lover of arts and cultural activities, he has excelled in the field of drama, mono acting, and debates. An ardent lover of humor and people, he invests his time in networking, reading, movies, and is also committed to the social cause. We give you Jay Krishna, fondly called as JK, as a speaker for the day. The floor is now yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Anuradha. Thank you for all those kind words. Thank you everyone for having me here in the NHRDN Chennai chapter. Special thanks to my good old friend Gangapriya for inviting me and providing me this opportunity as well to share about Amar Raja and the journey that we have had so far. NHRD Chennai sort of titled it as the transformation journey. Yes, we do believe that it was indeed a great journey, and we continue to be in that journey of transformation. And that's something that we continuously believe is the hallmark of what we have been and what we will be going forward. So friends across, all that I would like to submit, this is a presentation of what we have sort of traveled so far and how we are looking forward as well. And maybe you will find things which are so small. Why is this guy talking about it? But it was indeed very, very important for us. And bear with me. And this is what is our story that I would like to share on behalf of Amar Raja. Give me a few seconds and let me share the screen. Is my screen visible? I hope so.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. So thank you for that. And so let me get started the transformation journey as I talked about. Let me take you all to 1985, which was indeed the time that we have still not opened our economies as a country. It was the License Raj, and there was this young man of 52 years old who makes a decision to start an industry. Imagine at the age of 52. Having a great job in the US, wants to do something for his country and more particular for his own village and the district that he hails from, which is the Chittoor district from Andhra Pradesh. He decides to quit everything, takes a one-way ticket and comes to Andhra Pradesh, Chittoor, to his home district and goes about looking out for land, applying to the government, and expressing his desire to start an industry. And finally, he gets a few acres of land in this place called Karakambadi, which is near Tirupati town. And let me tell you, this is exactly that land was. Initial allocation, I was told, was something like 30 acres that was provided to him. Of course, he asked for 100 and odd acres, but what was allocated was 30 acres. And that's how he got started. Friends, we need to realize, and I'm taking a little time here to tell you, that this was a village which hardly had 750 people, no roads, no telephone connectivity. I think the largest school was a primary school, and hardly any infrastructure, in fact. And that's where he started off. And then you can see there at the right top corner, I don't know whether everybody is able to closely see, those who are virtually signed in can see it. You can see that was the shed of his first factory. And that was Amara Raja Power Systems, on which he started. And his name is Ramachandra Galla, Dr. Ramachandra Galla. And that's how it started. And this whole place, of course, from 30 acres went on to 50. And today it is something like 160 acres, the first facility of ours. And that place which you just saw earlier is then moved on to become like this. And to give you one of the glimpses, today is roughly like this. This is one of our largest facilities and the first facility. And this is where we call it as the head office is here. And in fact, right in this campus, I'm not able to show you, the founder chairman lives inside this campus even today. And that's his commitment to the whole industry and even to the society. We got started that way. And therefore, to let you know, this is again another large facility of ours, which is roughly 600 acres. And today we are sort of 6 manufacturing locations, which has roughly around 18 plants. Of course, 2 of them are upcoming as well. We have our sales offices across 21 locations in India. 350 plus channel partners. Again, these are all India statistics. Of course, we have a couple of offices that has opened up elsewhere as well. We have 30,000 plus retail network that takes care of all our businesses. And of course, we are exporting to 45 countries as well. And all this supported by 15,000 plus people. And we are at an average age of 29 years. And we clocked recently around 8,700 crores as our revenue. Just to let you know, this would mean 7 companies, which is housing 16 different businesses. You would know of Amara Raja Batteries, where we make the automotive batteries and the industrial batteries. Amaron brand is known to most of us. Of course, at one side we have batteries, on the other side we also make food products, which means beverages, juices. We supply for Coke, we supply for Cafe Coffee Day. Some of the beverages that you see inside the Cafe Coffee Day are manufactured by us. The wild drinks that you see in airports and all are manufactured by us. Of course, we do quite a few private labeling like that, including the latest of Decathlon. We also have engineering businesses. We have an EPC business. We have electronics. We are also into infra business. So these are the kind of businesses that we are. Of course, our flagship is Amara Raja Batteries, and that constitutes close to 75% of our revenues. And rest of the businesses are highly now poised for growth. So the last 30-35 years has been predominantly batteries focused and incubating the rest of the businesses. So if you would look at the last 20 years, friends, possibly you would find that something like 152 crores from where 20 years back we were, and today to around 8,700, which gives you roughly around possibly 20 plus CAGR. In the last 10 years, possibly it's gone down a little. But we would at least like to maintain, but still around 12-15%, but we would like to maintain it at a 12-15%. And that's the challenge that we are looking forward to in terms of growing the rest of the businesses and getting where we would like to be. Now, all this has been with a great purpose in mind. And that's how the founders started. And all of us strongly believe in that core purpose. And that's all about transforming and transforming all the time. This was a core belief that the group always had and continues to have. Better, the word better is something that sort of transcends through everything that we do. We keep looking at how do we make things better for people, how do we make better access, how do we enhance quality of life. All that is the purpose, the why do we exist as a group. Having said that, for all the businesses put together at a group corporate level, we had clearly enlisted that we should have a vision of the businesses being redefined from time to time. And it should deliver a high social impact. It should look upon future trends, what is our ability to anticipate those, and our continuous will to build preferred brands, and of course, keep on leveraging talent and technology. This has been a vision that every business looks upon, and of course, each business defines its own numbers and the number of years and so on by which they would like to achieve. But every business that we start, or any new initiative that we start at the group level or at a BU level, this is our testing tool. Are we living up to that core purpose and this vision in the way that we want to achieve? You would have seen at the top written there, through the Amara Raja way, and that's a very, very important aspect for us, which is so very close to our hearts. And Amara Raja way is nothing but our core values and how it is sort of moving across the entire ecosystem of Amara Raja. Let me tell you what is that core values. So the 5 core values for us, as you would see here: innovation, excellence, entrepreneurship, experiences, and responsibility. The 5 values per se, those words are pretty simple. We are able to make out what that would signify for Amara Raja. But you would have closely seen that there is a color that we have sort of ascribed to each of those values. That's true. And each of these colors have been sort of given with a thought process in mind, because we believe that's the color which suits best to that value. Why so? Because we find this having a very close linkage to the 5 elements of nature. And that's the Panchbhutas. And therefore, if you'd see experiences is something that we have linked it to the 5 elements water. Why? I mean, in the sense, if you immerse yourself in water, you are touched upon everywhere. And that's the experience that we would like to provide. And here again, let me say, this is not about our experiences that we have had. We are talking about the experiences that we would like to provide to every stakeholder that we come in touch with, of ensuring that enduring relationships. So each of these values are very clearly defined. Beyond that, we have also interestingly, in the recent years, linked it to Howard Gardner's 5 minds to the future. We made some tweaking and then ensured that these values had a great linkage to the 5 minds. And therefore, if you look at or think of that value, what is that mind state that we would like to be linked to? So if you think of responsibility, say, for example, it's about being respectful, it's about being ethical. We are not talking here only about corporate social responsibility. We are also talking about how do we respect each other as individuals or as stakeholders, be it internal or external. So these are all very critical, and this is sort of very closely intertwined in our actions as well. Therefore, you would find in our corporate logo all these 5 colors coming together in a dynamic manner, moving forward and making that motion. And that's what is expressed. And across that 5 values, what we see is each of those values, if you think through, we are talking about making things better. And therefore, our motto is all about gotta be a better way. We have to make things better all the time. So let me now come to the HR transformation, and I'm speaking here in 3 phases, and I chose to share this in 3 phases because one of the recent case studies that got published by the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, Professor Biju Varki had written about us, which he has sort of done it pretty well in 3 phases, and therefore I thought I will briefly touch upon each of these phases. Of course, the first phase and the second phase, and then to the third phase. So the first phase, as all of us know, that in the initial years of founding, it was indeed a manager with a couple of employees at that personal department. And for anything that you need to do, obviously, it's the chairman who's available as the CHRO for, or rather a CXO for all functions. In fact, he started off with quite a few GETs and management trainees those days, maybe 5, 6 of them. And that's how this company today became to what it is today. And some of them are actually the CXOs at the apex level as well today. So initial focus was more about, how do we maintain those records? How do we do certain policies which are required for the flagship business, which was the batteries business? And that was just nurturing at that time. We are trying to get customers, be it for industrial batteries. In fact, let me tell you, at that time, almost till 90s, we have not got into automotive. It was all industrial batteries focused. Therefore, supplying for railways, supplying for BSNL, those were the kind of focus. Then we moved into that phase 2, which I would say is predominantly from 95 to 2005. Those 10 years was actually the real formation of a full-fledged encompassing HR functions, and predominantly it was driven by the ISO requirements, I would say. And that's the research that we also felt when we go back and see that's what really happened. But towards the 2005 era, you would find that there is a large amount of maturity that came around. There were 3 businesses that got matured beyond batteries. And therefore, each of those businesses also started demanding the need of a focused HR as well. Till then, it was about one HR department taking care of everything. And that was good enough as well. And of course, post 2005 is what I would say was more about a strategic HRM approach that we really took about. And that was actually based on the tarmac that was laid on phase 1 and phase 2 was the takeoff really started off. And that's when we were truly inspired by 2 different aspects. One was the Dave Ulrich's HR model, and the one another catalyst was the HR excellence model, which really helped us in sort of setting up things that would help and fuel businesses and sort of be not just a supporter, but be a business participant itself. So we moved on to structuring the entire HR function in this manner. And that's on, we actually sort of brought it like this, where we have business HR teams for each business. There was a focused business HR which looked after what is required for that business. And then we have a centralized shared services which runs all the payroll, the employee policy administrations and so on. And therefore business HR need not be buried with transactional items. Centers of expertise was something that we created for all businesses. There again, to support the businesses and provide them expertise and core inputs regarding, say, it could be for OD, it could be for running developmental programs, it could be for performance management supports, compensation and benefits, structuring part, of course, implementation part will go to the shared services. So business HR had a large amount of focused effort and time, and continues to be, in looking at what is transformational and strategic and as required for the business. So they don't bury their time on other things. So to that extent, of course, the business HR teams, depending on the size of the business, became pretty optimal. This sort of helped us to move people, the fungibility of moving business HR to shared service or from COE to business HR, all that was very important. Of course, it had clear SLAs. Within the teams, there were service level agreements to ensure that we comply to what we commit to. So that was also clear, and this is clearly audited and scored also. Everybody amongst us also score how are we doing to each other and also to the businesses. But here the critical aspect was also to ensure that there was a great amount of relationship at the senior levels be it with me as well as each of the CEOs or the BU heads, because that was critical to showcase to the team that we are committed to a larger cause, and therefore they also feel aligned in that manner. Beyond these three verticals that stood in HR, one of the things that we brought it at the apex level was also a council of all the senior HR leaders, be it the heads of shared service, the centers of expertise heads, as well as each of the business HR leaders coming together. And this is what is called as the HRC, or the Human Resources Council, which meets every month. Of course, these days in the COVID situation, we are meeting every week on the video. But the fact is, to why this council? The council focuses in terms of seeing what are some of the good practices happening within businesses, one. Two, what else that we need to do as a support, possibly maybe one business HR to the other business HR, their interactions, their synergy, their support, all that happens there. So we look at best practices, next practices, what can we learn from others, what can we do differently, even if it has not been done before. So those are some of those things that make us thrilled in terms of meeting and taking it forward. Of course, it really helped in terms of leadership pipeline within HR as well. So this is how we operate as an HRA group today. All well supported by a people strategy where we define it as follows. That is, through the Amara Raja way, we should achieve the organization objectives wherever we are. And that should be through an invigorating digital work environment, through continuous excellence on three important factors, which is about engagement, which is about development, and therefore leading to performance. So this has been our core philosophy of people aspects. And therefore the people strategy actually sort of defines. And from the people strategy to deliver, we evolved the talent management processes through a talent management focus model with talent at the center. And we have 5 tenets around which we build all our talent management initiatives for any BU, except that the 5 tenets, what is required under each tenet would obviously vary based on each business needs. That's about attract, engage, develop, excel, and of course, grow. So this is all built around, again, keeping the 5 core values, the Amara Raja way in mind. So whether it is from manpower planning to maybe even as important as a farewell management when people retire is important for us. So the people strategy sort of defines and the talent management actually delivers. And this goes through a constant dynamic change based on demands and based on likely demands that will come up. And that's something that we'll have to always be alive to. One another important aspect for us is collaboration. And therefore, I'm sharing here the Knights of the Round Table metaphor. This is very, very clearly practiced and looked upon as a requirement and expectation. When I say Knights of the Round Table, all of us know about King Arthur and his knights. All of them, there is no head of the table. There is nothing like somebody who is sort of coming together to say this is the way it should be done. So when you come together on meetings, be it the Human Resources Council or even at the apex body of decision making at the group corporate, which is the ARCC, the Corporate Council, everybody has an equal say. And are we practicing that and not necessarily, sort of saying who is saying what? One. The second important principle is, are you coming here as a domain expert or are you coming here also as a CEO or a CXO of your function? No, you need to remove the cap and look at from what are you representing as a council or as a business leader there. So those are important. So therefore, be it any councils, ARCC or GrowCom, which is called the Growth Committee of larger leaders of the group, the Executive Committee, which is of each businesses that reports to the board, or even HRC, Knights of the Round Table metaphor has to be strictly practiced. And this is what really has been one of the core of our transformation as well. Our experiences had led to certain beliefs and therefore the purpose, the values, the vision. And these values and vision, we have translated it ultimately to certain attitudes and leader behaviors at different levels as talent moves on. And this attitudes and leader behaviors got into a larger meaning making for all of us to ensure that we lived up to the purpose, we lived up to the vision. And I'm sure all of us have certain models, and we therefore have defined, while I'm just sharing here just a feel of what are those at different levels, but this goes to a detailed description as well, be it attitudes and be it leader behaviors. But the fun lies not here. It's actually how we have intertwined it into the performance management system. Now, there again, all of us have certain practices, but what I would like to highlight here is any leader, be it of any function or be it of a business or whatever, or even it could be a small support staff. In the performance management system, the way we have intertwined is that if your attitudes and leader behavior score, say, for example, is 80, and your KRA score is 95, the normal practice is to possibly sum it up together, average it, and say that's the total score. But in our case, that lower score on attitudes and behaviors, assuming the score on attitudes and leader behaviors is lesser, that becomes your final performance score. So that way we have created a lot of emphasis of saying that you cannot go about achieving the objectives that are outlined for the business by having skeletons on the way. So it's very, very important that we live up to this. And this, of course, initially with a lot of resistance, but really paved way for our success. And today everybody believes it. And therefore, I would say everybody speaks so much of HR, and that's a great thing for us. Of course, institutionalizing only through performance management is not enough. We have looked at from every aspect, not from just an HR team or a function. Everybody thinks about it so much. And therefore, in various ways, and some of the ways to tell you, be it right from your induction, within 72 hours, are we really ensuring every individual that, sort of joins us is definitely having that baptism, be it on Amar Raja way, an understanding of businesses and so on. It's extremely critical. And of course, ensuring that the person or Bhagavad Gita, which is the Amar Raja way book, which talks about several anecdotes, stories of what we have done in the past and what we believe has been the success factor and what we believe will continue to be the success factors. So those are sort of transcribed their real lifetime stories of Amar Raja there. And of course, we would also see, even in the interiors, you will find the 5 colors, so much so painted across. So you will find from sections to sections, this is sort of alive. And leave it not just that alone. We also have a uniform, in fact, not uniform, it's a multi-form. Every employee, be it a workman or be it a staff, whomsoever it is, has 5 sets of uniforms in 5 different colors. So when you go to your wardrobe to take your uniform, you will obviously think of that value. And that's what we really wanted to strike with them. And you would find, be it on the shirt or be it on the blouse side, or be it on your churidar, you will find the value written, the value living there. And in fact, at the back, you can also see the motto written of "Gotta be a better way." And therefore, this is something that we have intertwined into our daily life as well. And one another important thing of institutionalizing is the way that we sort of create an immersion journey of 2 days for every single employee, possibly within the first 6 months of joining. So every 3 months, 6 months, we take stock of the people and then run it through an LSIP. And let me tell you, the large-scale interactive process that we deploy for institutionalizing the Amar Raja way is absolutely internal, no consultants. 150 and odd trained facilitators across levels are there. So senior leaders across the next level and the third level of leaders and managers come together in actually anchoring this program for the newcomers. So we do it in an LSIP fashion. So we typically will have something like 650 people brought together. You can imagine there are 3 lead anchors who will run the program at the stage. And at each zone, there are 13, 14 zones which will have, and that will be anchored by a manager there. And therefore, it's a huge fun program that we do to ensure how do we go through this acculturization of the Amar Raja way. Fresh talent induction at various levels do happen, like that would happen for any organization for building its pipeline. be it at the operative levels, be it at the staff levels of diploma holders, maybe at graduate engineer levels. And of course, we also have a program called Sukalpa, which is a separate stream run for people whom we hire from premier institutes as well. Several other opportunities, be it an Amar Raja diploma program. If there is an operative who is a 10th pass or a +2 fail or whatever it is, but we find there is a potential and that he can grow, we have our own customized technical diploma program run through a skill development center, and therefore you get the AR diploma. We have power deployment sessions. We have skill development center, which I'll briefly talk later, which again is a sort of a backward integration of ensuring trainees really become hardcore, not the run-of-the-mill promotions, but it's sort of taking people to unusual higher level responsibilities by even skipping sometimes. And then we have an interesting program called the Switching Lanes program. This is about saying, as a talent, you can decide whether you would like to be in which lane. Would you want to be in the right lane or would you want to be at the left lane? So typically, most organizations, we do have this aspect of fast track career growth. But we call it a switching lanes program and not necessarily a fast track. So we say that in your career here in Amar Raja, you can choose either to be on the right lane or you can be on the left lane. And we don't look up or look down on anybody. It's your choice. Now, a person would have in his lifetime the needs to sometimes be on the left. So you may have to slow down and be on the left lane, and that's your regular track. But if you would like to be on the right lane, you have to follow certain requirements. You need to meet certain expectations, certain levels of performance, certain higher level objectives, and so on. That makes you to the right lane. It's a very interesting process that we have, and we have quite a few people in the last few years who have actually moved to very higher level responsibilities and switching between lanes as well. Of course, first time managers program, which we do for people who become the first time in their life as managers, of course, tied up with the B School. We have a couple of modules there. One of it is in the campus as well. AR Seed is another interesting program, which is highly focused on supervisory development to really become later managers for us. Guru Sikshna is another program, which is sort of, the train the trainer kind of program, but very interestingly, even telling you not just how to run a program, but even how you devise a program. So these are also very internal certification ways of becoming a guru. Communication meets, of course, of a very high order. Communication happens quite often and frequently, be it your annual group communication, which the corporate council does it across the group through a webcast, even before COVID days, the pre-COVID days as well. Of course, the company communication meets anchored by the respective CEOs and CXOs. Quite an important open house between the chairman and the vice chairman, which goes for hours as well to ensure that the corporate council actually addresses these issues. Founding Day is on the December 20th of every year. Of course, this year we were wondering how to do it, but we are all set to do it in a virtual mode as well. That's there. Then we have Family Day. Family Day, one interesting aspect here I would like to highlight is all our senior leaders every year takes a roster in terms of visiting one another location. So, for example, last year I went to Nagpur. So every leader will be allocated with a location. You got to go there with your family and be with that branch and that region with those employees and their families, and you possibly go 60-100 kilometers away to a picnic spot and really mingle. And this really happens on the same day across the group. And this is fun. Of course, this year we are going to do it in a different manner, considering the COVID constraints, but this typically happens in the February. So one of the very empowering programs that we have for our operatives is the QCC movement, but not just that, not just taking up QCC projects, but ensuring that they are sponsored and empowered to the international forums. In fact, we have moved into almost an hat trick. The last 3 years, we have been getting gold awards for several projects. In fact, what you see there, 90, except for 2 or 3 people who are managers there, the rest of all are our operators who went to Singapore the year before. Last year was Tokyo. This year, I am told it's in Bangladesh, but we are seeing how do we do a mix or a hybrid method. Functional team retreats, of course, extremely important. How do we sort of make those outbounds happen? Experiences survey. This is very interesting, which we do on an annual fashion. Every alternate year is a 100% participation survey, and every other alternate year is a pulse survey. More importantly, not just doing the survey, the unique model is how we are deploying the action time frame, and how do we sort of ensure a review happening even at the corporate council level. So, sort of you have change owners at the front line, and then comes the champions and the change leaders, and how they go about making those changes based on feedback and then celebrating those impact changes. Of course, it's predominantly based on a couple of different models that we have adopted across 20 dimensions, and we have been scoring 80 plus in terms of experiences. So this is about across the 20 dimensions that I shared before, how are people in those, and that is about your experience in Amara Raja. So that's the score about experiences score. Of course, we have a couple of few dimensions which we call out and see as specifically to see what's the engagement score. This is something that we continuously measure, more importantly, act on the feedback. Going back to the school days, and that is there in Amara Raja. In a way, what we do is every single employee, almost now, I think every single employee has a house that they belong to. So roughly, I think today around 950 people are there in each of these houses. Every house is headed by a couple of senior leaders, so they are their group captains. So your arts, cultural, sports activities that happen across the year, everybody is keen to see whether my house gets the prize, and that's how we bring in the Amara Raja family and the oneness across. Of course, AR Buddy is a very important, close to heart employee assistance program. In fact, we revitalized it all the more during this COVID-19 pandemic times. AR Inspire is one another program of, sort of empowering and bringing out and showcasing the next generation leaders of Amara Raja. Amaravani is in fact nothing but our communication quarterly that we do on a digital fashion. We at AR has been a significant initiative that we have taken up in the last year, which was about automating most of our people systems and processes and ensuring that everything was available on the handheld of the employee. Of course, the first deployment started off with management and staff, and during the COVID pandemic time, we enabled even it for workmen. So we could know where were they during the lockdown time. And reach out support. So it was a significant intervention that we did across the 15,000, 16,000 employees, be it right from recruitment to performance to attendance to whatnot. We did it over the last over the last year in 3 phases, and this has been smoothly implemented. And even today, workmen has a lot of access on their smartphones that they can do. Workforce strategy is very, very important for us. Let me tell you, it's not the normal workforce strategy. This is a focused effort that we take on the operatives. Now, we don't have union settlements to take care of their wages. We have annual performance appraisal like a management staff itself, and therefore they have a method of providing annual increases and so on, so that we have to ensure that it far exceeds a long-term settlement in a way. So for that, there is a specific study wherein workmen, staff, managers, cross-functional teams get together, seeing what are some of the best practices, what do we need to adopt, and those things do happen. Of course, we finally implemented keeping the Maslow's hierarchy in mind, looking at each level, are we doing what is necessarily required and expected out of people at the blue collar level, and therefore continuing to reach that self-actualization, which will never happen, or because it has to be a moving target. Now, these are standard things that you might see, what is so much to talk about, but I'll tell you, I've just put out some of those things which are unique in a way. For example, look at medical insurance. Medical insurance, typically we have all seen in corporates and in industries that as you go up in your hierarchy, the medical insurance coverage increases. But for us, it's predominantly based on age. So be it a vice president of 40 years or be it an operative of 40 years, he gets the equal coverage. Some of the unique aspects, looking at our workmen hostels, I would say, the cluster kind of accommodation that we provide is far superior than even possibly a premier institute B schools hostel accommodation. So these are things that we have really created for impact. And I should say in the last 5 years, this is specific statistics to 5 years, I would say, we're continuously getting on to much better improvements on these areas, be it attrition or the retention part, be it in terms of increase in revenue, no reportable accidents in the last decade itself, a significant increase in people participation on various activities, and of course we have a full 100% participation on the suggestion schemes across. A little talk about the community. Of course, we have various vehicles through which we do the CSR work, employee volunteering being one of the critical aspects. We have a trust which is called the Rajanna Trust. We have an educational society focusing on education. We also have KECA, which is the Krishna Devaraya Educational and Charitable Association, which gives scholarships on a yearly basis on 2nd of October to deserving candidates who are CXOs today in various multinationals. Some of the thrust areas is across these, be it our commitment to non-migratory job creation, education, health, infra, environment, skilling. And in most of these, we believe on the direct delivery model. And I should highlight here the contribution that businesses make to the trust and for CSR started in late 80s at the rate of 2%, which much later in the 2000s became a law. So that was how we could amass a large amount of money for the community activities. And we follow predominantly the direct delivery models. Say, for example, when I say direct delivery, we discourage checks. Of course, not that we don't give, we do give. But predominantly, if we need a check dam, we go ahead and construct it using our infra business so that the beneficiary really gets the benefit and there is nothing lost on the transmission. We have a great skill development center where we actually, it's like a defense academy, I would say, be it right from your alarm at the 5:30 to your yoga, to your chess, to your different games that you go through in terms of before you become a full-fledged Amarrajian. Of course, a couple of schools and junior colleges that the trust runs. We have a primary health center that's actually run on a PPP model. Of course, check dams and investments that we do in terms of water conservation. Social environment, this is again extremely important for us. Several hills that we have made it green. We have purchased lands and in fact donated it to the government after ensuring the kind of environment requirements. In fact, we have for all this done through tribal people and ensuring that they are sort of fully accommodated well at those areas so that they are also with employment as well. Employee volunteerism, like I mentioned, is very important where leaders and teams go across. It could be to any institution of need, and investing a day with the inmates there is extremely important. Gangapriya did mention that if you could also talk about a little about the initiatives of COVID-19, I will run through it, but briefly, just to give a glimpse of it. Of course, one of the biggest things that we did it soon after COVID was understood was formation of 5 task forces across levels, which was on HSPC, health, safety, people and communities. We have a business continuity task force, a COVID-19 data analytics task force, which is not just about our data, even the global local data. Pivot strategies team and supply of masks. In a manufacturing company, you might wonder, but the fact we understand we are unique that way of ensuring work from home allowance and providing support infra to the people who are doing so. Be our efforts on ensuring the proper, COVID management app uniquely created for Amara Raja. Of course, ensuring that we have expertise counseling being provided to COVID infected employees or their family members, bringing in a COVID-19 leave policy with unlimited leave, be it for you or for your family member under the same roof. No questions asked. We want to see that they come back fully normal. Of course, the specific additional coverages, creating quarantine facilities for our employees. Of course, bringing in a new quarantine facility even for new recruits that we had to, ambulances that we created, communication vans that we created, doubling the kind of employee leased buses, of course, SOP manuals, the reward systems for SOP compliance, and unique policy of Bill of Rights. Any person has the right to question anybody, assuming there is the SOP non-compliance happening. Antigen testing that we have incorporated through our occupational health center. We doing our own public webinars to the outside world and telling what we have been doing and would want to learn more. Of course, doing a lot of webinars for our own people. We signed an MOU with IIT Tirupati to ensure that we develop and manufacture N95 masks, revamped our appraisal system, brought about unique schemes in terms of business performance. We did do deductions during this COVID-19 start, of course, not early on, somewhere from June onwards, but we said that we assure you to return this money back and not be a permanent deduction. Of course, leading to certain business outcomes, revamping of several things, and needless to mention about the continuous dynamic communication and engagement exercises. HR excellence, like I said, has been very core for us. Over the years, for our businesses, we have moved from strong commitment to significant achievement. And in the last 2 years, two of our largest businesses even went on to get the Prize for Leadership Award, which is the highest level in terms of CIHR excellence. Some of the most recent recognitions, 3 of them I would like to talk about. I talked about the case study of IAMA, which got listed in Harvard subsequently in recent months, which was in September. Very happy to share with you, Amara Raja Group featured in the World's Best Employers 2020 list of Forbes. We were ranked 316. Only 31 Indian companies got ranked there. We were so happy and humbled about that. Of course, the deployment of VATR initiative led us to become the talent accelerator for India by the IDCDX Awards. And let me therefore sum up to share with you, friends, for us, culture is so very important. And all of us know that indeed reveals the soul of any organization for that matter. It makes the difference between what is a normal organization to what is being admirable. And that is something that we take strong cognizance to. And we believe that is indeed a strategic differentiator. So thank you very much, friends, and particular Gangapriya and team NHRD at Chennai for this opportunity. And with this, I remain and happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, JK.
Thank you.
We would now be unmuting the participants, and if you would like to ask a few questions, please do so.
Thanks a lot for your lecture, sir, for the presentation. This is Sridhar here. And I was hearing you in the initial slide stating that the core founder was looking at management trainings to start, and the HR function was correct me if I'm wrong. HR function in the full-fledged way started after some time.
I'm sorry, I know I'm not very audible for me. Can you come again closer, Sridhar?
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, better.
You can.
Is it audible now?
Oh yeah, very nice. Please.
Yeah. The Sridhar here.
Yes.
I was listening to your presentation, though I was on the drive. But
Right.
Initially, when you look in the founder, and he started with management trainees as a core person, and then finally, after some time, the HR function came in a full-fledged way.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Otherwise,
That's right.
what was the HR practices that the founder brought in? Because that is the foundation which led to it, and that is the core time when people should align with. As a startup mode, you'll have a lot of
challenges, what
Sure.
was the HR practices that founder brought in, and how it has grown? This is my question.
I think I still call him as the actual CHRO in many ways and continues to be so. I think one of the core values that he demonstrated was taking care of people. I think being responsible to people, be it anybody. So therefore, that was the biggest, strongest value. So anything that we found was missing, that was something that the chairman actually brought in and said, okay, this is something that we should do. So many things in the organization, I would say, started off even before it became a sort of law or a mandate possibly. So those were some of the practice. That way there are lots, Sridhar, that I would say that he sort of brought in as possibly the next practice. Is that answering your question, Sridhar?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, Anu, I have one. This is Vijay here. Good afternoon, Jai Krishna. It was, very, what do I say? I think it was very holistic. Pretty much everything was there, whatever one can, think of, and in all of that, I think a lot of it coming from the heart. I think, not just tick off the boxes. So thank you so much. So I have a question associated with that. Something like this, while of course I think requires top management support, and the leader's perspective is very important. Equally so, it requires a very different kind of HR team to make this possible. So, are there any insights about what makes this team sort of tick and support you with something as phenomenal as this?
Thank you, Vijay, for asking that. Like I said, how the founder and for that matter, the entire promoter family strongly believed in striking the balance between people and business. They said, they very strongly believe, not just said, they lived in that manner of saying, how do we, without people, you don't have business at all. It doesn't make any sense. So at a point of time, is it really creating a win-win on both sides? So they said, if at all we have to look at it that separately, is to ensure a win-win. Otherwise, both are of equal importance. So this has sort of imbibed a lot in the acculturization through the Amara Raja way. And therefore, not just the HR teams, even the leaders and team members across functions, I would say. I would say the mantra or the success story would have been of making every other person an HR person. So kudos to the HR teams which made it happen across these verticals. And of course, every other leader across all BUs and teams. That's what I would say, Vijay.
Thank you so much. Wonderful articulation. Every leader being an HR leader. Thank you.
Thank you.
JK, Raji here.
Yes, Raji.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. One simple but very, I can say that really, is it like how you are able to sustain and the consistency of all initiatives you bring in and
Raji, I'm losing you.
Raji, would you like to type the question in the chat?
Based on the business requirement perspective, taking
Raji, hi, we are losing you completely.
Involving
Hi, Raji.
apart from people, leadership coming.
His message. He has already messaged.
I think she dropped off, I think. Maybe her bandwidth could have been a challenge.
Yeah, JK, we'll take one last question from
Sure,
Chitranath
please,
here at
please.
Marriott.
It all depends on your time, Anuradha.
JK, great presentation. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Chitranath. Thank you, Chitra.
Two questions.
Sure, please.
You're covering all your employees in the insurance scheme, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm just curious to know if the insurers repaid your COVID expenses or did you have to pay that?
No,
And
no.
two, tell me something more about your best employer.
Sure, sure. COVID, we took an additional coverage, Chitranath. So therefore, the other insurance continues to be for the non-COVID ailments. Therefore, we actually made a separate coverage for COVID. But fortunately, I can give you more details. I think most cases, the expenses disallowance has been very minimal. Of course, you know, some other cases of these PPEs is a big challenge. But otherwise, most of it, we didn't have much of a challenge because of our TPA and the insurance that was involved. With regard to best employers, that was one of the best surprises, I would say, in the recent past. In fact, as I understand, the methodology was research done by folks through various employees, cross-section of employees that they have done, not necessarily even only from your organization, but even outside is what I understand. We are yet to get the full details of how do they go about compiling and ranking the 500. But good to say, yes, we are in the 300 and odd list. And also within the 31 companies, we are somewhere around 11th or 13th position within India as well. So it's all about, predominantly about what do you think of Amara Raja and what is your association? How do you rate that employer or that corporate? That was typically the research I understand. Thank you, Chitra. I hope I have answered, Chitra.
Thanks. Got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, there is one more question.
Sure.
Now, Shankar Ganesh Rajan has asked if you can explain the switch lanes program a bit more in detail, how it works. Can somebody switch lanes for a short period and come back, etc.?
Sure. Yes. Somebody can definitely switch lanes for even a shorter period. Say, for example, an employee's people at home, maybe a parent who's medically ill and therefore he needs to give a lot amount of support and he doesn't want to continue to be on that right lane, which is a faster track. He can ask for a switch and move to the left lane, and the expectations also gets changed in that manner. If you want to be on the right lane, yes, you got to have a certain level of consistent performance. Your potential assessment ratings has to be above a certain level, which keeps happening. And then you have to take up certain, what we call as the SLOs, which is the switching lanes objectives, which are typically objectives of a higher order. Possibly objectives that you need to take beyond what you are currently doing at a certain organizational level. So you need to take that higher level objectives, which is typically signed off by your skip level leader as well, and ensuring that you actually meet. If you really meet all these aspects, you will continue to be on the right lane. So the ability to be flexible, yes, very much is there. I hope that I'm more than happy to clarify more details later offline as well. Thank you.
Rajeshwari, would you like to take your question?
Yeah, thank you, Anu. Hello.
Yeah, I think it'll be better if you can type your question in the chat.
No, there is a power failure. I will connect with him maybe offline.
Thank you. Thank you, Raji.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Raji.
So thank you all. The best saying goes like, our ability to change defines our ability to survive in this world. And I think it's proven with every pandemic and every situation that we come across. And this crisis also proves this fact. So you took us through a lovely and a wonderful journey across. And the way you describe it shows the passion that all of you have put in effort in making this transformational journey happen. And it was wonderful sharing that with you. And we are very, very honored, sir. So thank you so much. And thank you one and all who have joined us in this session. We will we will be proceeding to have the AGM after a quick short break. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Anu. Thank you very much, Anuradha. Thank you everyone who have gathered. And with this, I take permission to leave. Thank you very much, Gangapriya, as well.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Dear all, can we request the non-members to please disconnect so that we can continue with the AGM?
Just 15 minutes.
We will have a 10-minute break and we'll be back for the AGM. So the non-members can disconnect and the members can continue in this line.
But presentation will come on that?
If it can be mailed across here.
Yeah, the presentation, webinar,
Idhila varume, share